Dear students, in this module, we will be talking about discrete and continuous distributions. Whenever we have a data, or then we perform an experiment on the numerical values of the data. So while we are performing an experiment, let us suppose we are talking about an experiment of tossing of a coin. So when we toss a single coin, then we have two outcomes in total. One is called the head and other is called the tail. So what we are going to observe while we are tossing a coin, we don't know that whether head would turn up or the tail would turn up. So we are going to record the numerical values for them, which we have already assigned. For example, we have assigned one value to a head and a 0 value to a tail. So once we are going to do that, so after observing that numerical data, we perform those random experiments. Similarly, I will be taking an example of rolling of a die. While we are rolling a die, we would have 6 points in total. So we don't know that whether 1 would turn up or 3 will come up or 6 will come up. So we are going to record them. So once we record them, we are recording them for a certain variable. So outcomes of a random experiment are being taken for a random variable. So random variable can be of two types. It could either be discrete or it may be continuous. So let us take certain further examples for a discrete and a continuous random variable. Time that adult subjects take to react to some stimulus. If we apply the stimulus to a randomly selected adult and observe the reaction time of 0.15 seconds, then 0.15 will be the value of this random variable. Now, my dear students, that value would vary from individual to individual. That is why we will be calling it as a variable. So what is then discrete random variable? Random variable that can assume only the finite or the countable values are known as discrete random variable. But those number of values may either be finite or they may be infinite. The values assumed by a discrete random variable will appear in form of the gaps or there will be jumps between the data points. The example for discrete random variable is number of children in a family. So there might be 1 child, 2 child, 3 child, 4 child and so on. So students, you can observe that there is a gap between 1 and 2, 2 and 3 and so on. A discrete variable might be able to assume the values that are in form of a whole number. Whereas if we talk about continuous random variable that can assume any values on the real line within some specific interval of A to B. These continuous random variables are usually uncountable. So we may assume hundreds of thousands of points between 1 and 2. So these values, they basically lie within that interval and they might not be countable for us. Let us take some examples of a continuous random variable. Supposingly, the time of reaction to certain stimulus, again that would vary from person to person. Height of a person, it is an example of a continuous random variable. So we are going to find out the height between, for instance, 4.5 and 5.5. So there will be many points that will lie within this interval. Similarly, if we are talking about weight of the individual, then weights are also the example of a continuous random variable. So students, in this module, we have learned the difference between a discrete random variable and a continuous random variable. Discrete random variables are the one where there are gaps between the points. while in case of continuous random variable, we are going to measure the values within a specific interval.